Boy, do I have a lot to say about the werehog levels. Like, when I first played them, at least when it comes to the earlier levels anyways, I didn't hate them. My only problem with them was the length. And the fact that in the first level, I felt like I was doing a lot of backtracking because, well, you'll see. The reason that I'm having such trouble here is because the dash is the double tap. Like, you have to tap the control stick and then immediately tap it again in order to dash. And it took a long time for me to be able to reliably dash. It's also kind of hard to tell that you're dashing when the camera is behind you. When he jumps when he's dashing, he jumps like he's Wolf-Link attacking a bubbler. Like attacking it when you hold down L and press A. And you need to do the dash jump in order to be able to jump far enough to get over certain pits. I had such trouble doing the dash reliably when I first started out the game, because you have to just double tap the analog stick of all things. Didn't they learn their lesson from Sonic Advance 2? Where you had the air dash mapped to the double tap on the control pad? Like, why couldn't they just have it mapped to the camera stick or the L button or the R button? Anything except that. I would prefer a run button over that. He's perfect speed for the kind of levels that he's designed for. So I don't feel like he's too slow. He's definitely not painfully slow like Amy Rose or Big the Cat. Especially when he's dashing, he's fine. I had such trouble with this when I first played this, and I failed 3 times because I didn't know that you're supposed to press and hold down the X button. Because Chip didn't tell me. He's the worst tutorial guide ever. Yeah, I lost the footage for all the other tutorials. There's a whole bunch of other mechanics that get introduced, so I'm going to talk about them myself. And besides, this video is going to be long enough as it is. I'm already annoyed that I couldn't fit the 3rd werehog level into this video. But yeah, there's a whole bunch of new mechanics introduced with the werehog levels. For one, there is attacking enemies. You press the L and R button alternately in order to attack enemies. When you press L and R simultaneously, which is very easy to do by accident by the way, then you do what I like to call the miss attack. I'm not missing here, but it's so easy to miss enemies when you accidentally do the special attack. Especially when you're attacking tiny enemies. So, I really don't... I mean, I understand why the combat is that way, only limited to alternating L and R. And there's like, L does the left arm, and R does the right arm. But, it's like, it's supposed to be... You're expected to use the motion controls to literally move your hands back and forth like an idiot and attack that way. So they have to keep the combat system simple because not everyone's a martial artist. But like I appreciate how the combat system is simple because it means you're not expected to memorize 10 billion different attacks. The problem is that like it just helps make the combat feel more boring, repetitive. I'm not trying to do the special attack there. See what I mean? It's so easy to miss when you do special attack by accident on tiny enemies. Although it feels really satisfying picking up enemies and throwing them at other enemies. Like, I really love that. But something really unintuitive about picking up and carrying stuff is that you have to hold down the X button and keep holding it down or you'll put it down. I didn't realize that it was possible to make carrying objects and picking them up into something incredibly unintuitive. But somehow this game managed to do it. I assumed it would be like Zelda where you pick something up and it's always above your head until you decide to press the button again. Another problem that I have with the werehog levels is that there's a lot of invisible walls and objects you can't interact with. Like there's a bell that you think you can ring but you can't. And there's also like crates that you can't break and jars that you can't break. So, even though the levels expect you to constantly explore all of them, basically playing them like a klepto, especially in the HD version where you really should be exploring the levels in their entirety to find all the medals, I don't feel like that's a very good level design, where how are you supposed to know where you can explore to and what's an invisible wall preventing you from progressing? And sometimes it's not intuitive that you can break stuff at all. But I guess that's a minor nitpick. I feel like the camera works pretty well here for the most part. Like in general, the camera of this game is pretty good. It doesn't get caught on anything. I feel like the controls adjusts for when the camera's swinging around. The camera's always directly behind you. Especially in the Sonic levels, where sometimes you can backtrack into the camera and it won't turn around. But you're always going to be going forwards anyways. The problem is that with the werehog levels, sometimes the camera doesn't pan out to show you that you can go to the left or right to get to a larger area. And that really sucked for me because I walked right past one of the keys that I need to progress with the level. And so, I spent a lot of time here. This level, I spent twice as long as I could have spent on this level, all because I walked past the key. Because the camera didn't tell me that I could go to the right to get to it. Thankfully, that's not a major problem with most of the werehog levels in general. Which is good because, again, there's a lot of invisible walls. So you might not know what you can progress to and what you can't. Swinging works pretty well. You hold down the X button, and you keep holding it down. And same goes for climbing up poles. You have to hold down the X button and never let go. Swinging, it's really intuitive. You just press the control stick in one direction and then back, forwards and back and forwards and back to constantly swing far enough that you... And then I guess you... Damn it, I forget whether you press A to jump or just let go of the X button. But yeah, like, the problem with climbing up poles is that you don't shimmy around it for the entirety of it when you're holding one direction like Mario 64. You gotta constantly tap the control stick in order to constantly rotate around it. And you gotta make sure that you're on the front side of it so you can jump forwards to progress to a higher area. See, this is exactly what I'm talking about. I didn't realize that I could go to the right here because the camera didn't pan out to show me. Look at the time limit. Look at how long I spent going through the entire level just to get here. Although it's better than the HD version, where in the HD version, it doesn't show you the time limit at all. I feel like it's a really sneaky way of trying to hide the fact that the werehog levels are only there to pad out the game. Because I feel like I'd rather have the game be honest to me about how long I'm spending in the levels. Like, that's just me. Like, the whole point of the werehog was to pad out the game so that people would feel like it justified the high price tag. And I feel like that's stupid of people because the whole thing about a Sonic game is not that entire... It's like you're going back to replay its levels over and over and over again. Even if the first playthrough doesn't take very long, the amount of time they're going to spend going back to the levels that you like more than justify the price tag. But it's ironic how, like, Unleashed is the best-selling game for the entire series since SA1. And SA1 was also a game that got Sonic out of a dark age. Although, I guess SA1 did better than this game did. This game was on so many different consoles. So there's so many different versions of it and stuff. So it makes sense. And you see what I mean? You gotta make sure that you're on the right side of the pole before you jump off it. Because you have a lot of momentum when you jump off it. Like a lot of forward momentum. You can't really steer yourself in the air very well. Like, I feel like it's kind of stiff compared to climbing and jumping off poles in a 3D Mario game. But yeah, you get new abilities when you beat levels as the werehog. It's different from the HD version, where in the HD version you're constantly walking into EXP crystals to level yourself up. And like in the Wii version, you don't have EXP crystals.
There's no knob on
You just level up in the day stages by collecting a bunch of rings. And even then, those are just temporary level ups so that you can get a bigger amount of boost bars. Whereas in the Wii version, with the werehog, you earn new abilities by beating the level. And it's not like you're constantly slowing the pace down the level even more by walking into solid crystals that the enemies drop. Crystals that, by the way, can fall into pits and stuff. So that you get cheated out of experience points. At least with this game, when you destroy an enemy, it just vanishes. And then, it looks like these energy balls magically flow into you automatically, which is a lot more convenient than the HD version. I like how you can dash into pots and crates to destroy them. Even though it doesn't look like you're dashing into them with nearly enough force that it should break them. And of course I went back to break all these things. Because I've been taught at this point to be a klepto and destroy everything. Because who knows if I might miss something vital. Although it's worth noting that when you're expected to find shadow keys, you'll find the first one. Like the game will make it very obvious that you're supposed to find them. It's not like you can walk past a shadow key. I'm not very good at explaining this. Basically, you don't really have to worry too much about not being able to progress the level because you didn't explore it entirely. Like, for the most part, it's just that one first level that has that kind of backtracking problem. But yeah, I think that... Oh god, these bees! These bees! And again, you really don't want to be doing the special attack by accident here. Because you'll constantly miss the enemies. And it's so easy to do a special attack because it's mapped to the same buttons as the regular attacks. These bees might be the most annoying enemies in the entire Sonic franchise. Like, it's kind of hard to say if they're worse than stuff like the Slicers and Shellcrackers, because they're on a 2D Sonic plane. So it's harder to avoid them. But you have to destroy these guys to progress. And it's so easy to miss when you're trying to attack the bees, even if you don't do the special attack. These guys might as well be ripped out of Sonic Chronicles. Because in Sonic Chronicles, the reason it was so annoying, among many other reasons, but I think the biggest major one was that so many of the enemies you would miss constantly when you tried to attack them. Or the enemies would have really high defense, and like you have to use something to disable them. Like, there are a lot of really annoying enemies in that game. Oh yeah, I love throwing crates at enemies and destroying them. For the most part, fighting is a kind of a frustrating experience because you can get attacked while you're in the middle of an animation. You can get interrupted during your animation, and I hate it when the game pulls cheap tricks on you like that. For the most part, it feels more frustrating. Well, it's also monotonous and repetitive. What I do in werehog levels is that I listen to background noise, like CDs or brain splash commentaries, movie commentaries, stuff like that. I listen to stuff to distract myself from the tedium of these werehog levels. And that's what I did to make me motivated enough to beat all of them. What you need to do to be able to unlock all the day stages. And like, I feel like that's a good way to make sure that people don't just rent the game and cheapsake out their money.
What do you think that is, Sonic?
I feel like maybe this game wouldn't have done so well if they didn't force you to buy it so that you'd be able to unlock all the day stages. Because you might not want to return it. I hate these things so much. Chip doesn't tell you how to control them. How are you supposed to know that you get flung in the direction of the control stick? How are you supposed to know that you can just hold up and fling off them up? Every other instance of a mechanic like that in the entire franchise up to that point has been a timing minigame. It reminded me right away of the timing swinging poles of Advance 2, where you just press the A button at the right time. So how are you supposed to know that if you press the control stick in a certain direction, you'll get flung up in that direction. This is something that Chip should tell you, but he doesn't. He is easily the worst tutorial guy in all of Sonic. It's like, he tells me to press X, even though there's a button prompt right there. It was so trial and error, just getting past this. And it took such a long time in the game for me to finally figure out how I was supposed to control these. But yeah. There's also this. Unfortunately, I didn't press and hold the X button in time. Yeah, you gotta press and keep the X button held down in order to keep doing certain actions. Which is pretty unintuitive, to be honest. Like, I was not expecting the controls of the werehog to be that unintuitive. In general, the werehog is more controllable than the daytime Sonic.
I think you can move.
So I feel like it's good in that it helps you get eased into the game. Because it's easier to control him, it's a lot less pressure. Like, you're not constantly feeling like an idiot boosting to walls and stuff. But yeah, it is pretty unintuitive, the controls. And I think the werehog would have been better if it had more sections like this. A lot more focus on the unique platforming. Like, this may be slow and precise, which is everything Sonic is against. But it's still it's not like Mario. It's still interesting. It's better than just pressing the L button again. I hate how the werehog is so weak, and the enemies have such large health bars. Like, let's just get this out of the way. The enemies did not need bigger health bars. This trend started with Sonic Heroes. And I was able to... I can accept that, sort of, because Knuckles is a power type character. And because they arbitrarily stripped him of all his abilities, like his gliding and his timing and stuff. His power type was really the only thing going for him. The problem is that in this game, like, it's ironic how this character is all about the fighting aspect, but he's the worst at fighting, because it takes so long for him to defeat all the enemies. And it's not like even though you get stronger as you beat levels, the enemies feel like they level up with you because you get stronger enemies as you progress through the game. So you only really feel like you've gotten stronger from progressing when you go back to replay old levels. So where's the feeling of getting stronger? What's the point of having this RPG system at all? I mean, I love how you can go back to earlier levels and just blast through them because you're so much better. Like, I love how you can upgrade your health bar and your combat strength and get new moves. Like, that's all good. But still, like, the enemies get stronger with you anyways. Like, I kind of like how there's a mini-map at the southeast corner of the screen. Chip is completely annoying and obnoxious. Like, he's just constantly interrupting my gameplay. And I think in the HD version, you were allowed to keep walking while he hammered on. Yeah, like, there's a lot of new gimmicks introduced with each werehog level generally. So it's not like they all feel the same. I mean, for the most part they do. But every werehog level generally has new gimmicks introduced to it. That gimmick is pretty easy. You just pull the lever, hold down the X button, and it's pretty intuitive. But then there's more fighting, and the fighting is just so repetitive and monotonous. It's not at all fun and satisfying like in Wind Waker. I don't feel like this is something that I look forward to. I think the best strategy is to just alternately mash the L and R buttons. Like, your normal punch attack is really the best way to go. Because when you do the dash attack, like, you can do a lot of damage, but it's also pretty likely that you'll miss the enemy. Because you get more slippery in controls when you're dashing. Your turning is awful when you're dashing. So yeah, like, just make sure not to do the miss attack by accident, and you'll be fine. You get better attacks later on. And I think it's easier to... I think the dash attack is a good move to use against these guys as well. Especially since they can constantly move backwards when you're trying to attack them and avoid your attacks. Like, I don't understand why you constantly miss with a special attack when you jump into the air doing so. So you think that you jump into the air and easily be able to hit enemies that are in the air. These guys are so annoying and obnoxious. And they almost killed me. Which makes me really lucky. Which makes me really thankful that there's these things. But these things don't restore nearly as much of your health. I wish that they restored more of your health. I really like how you can just fall down. And you can also slide down them, which is pretty fast and fun. I got up here because I got paranoid that, like, this is too easy. This is too easy. Maybe I'm backtracking by mistake. But no. And I got sliding. Or, sidling. And to be honest, I like this more than in Wind Waker.
We should take this one nice.
For multiple reasons. One, it's easier to do because you just hold the direction of the wall and also hold the direction that you want to go. And I like it more than Wind Waker because in this game you're not doing it at the speed of molasses. And like you hang off ledges and you gotta make sure that you keep on holding down the X button when you're hanging off them. Because otherwise you'll just drop to your death. Although I like how when you drop off the ledges, you can press X again in midair, and you'll just grab back on it. As long as you haven't fallen too far, it's fine. I always like how you get medals from beating levels normally. That's good. Getting the new abilities actually unlocks a mission tutorial for it, but it's completely optional to get it. And I didn't even play the tutorial until pretty far into the game. So, what's the point?